The health insurance industry tonight is insisting it does not have to start offering coverage to children with pre-existing medical conditions. Without apparent awareness of the evident irony, a spokesman is claiming, quote, the fine print of the health reform bill gives them an escape clause. Perhaps the only surprise is that they waited a week to start this. Wendell Potter in a moment.
Starting this year, insurance companies will be banned forever from denying coverage to children with pre-existing conditions.
As of, says an insurance spokesman, 4 years from now. In other words, tough luck, kids keep suffering. An attorney for both employers and insurance companies by the name of William G. Schiffbauer today telling the New York Times, quote, the fine print differs from the larger political message. If a company sells insurance, it will have to cover pre-existing conditions for children covered by the policy. But it does not have to sell to somebody with a pre-existing condition, and the insurer could increase premiums to cover the additional cost. The Department of Health and Human Services last week insisted that because of the new law, children cannot be denied coverage, though they intend to offer regulations next month that would clarify any ambiguity. As to the implementation of the rest of the bill, in large part that falls to a nonprofit regulatory group called the NAIC, the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. More than 50 NAIC members, one from each state, territory, and the District of Columbia, will take the framework provided by the President's bill and help individual states institute programs like insurance exchanges. The NAIC met in Denver this weekend to figure out its course of action for the new law. Not coincidentally, they were joined by 1,700 insurance company executives who put in their 2 cents. As promised, here now is Wendell Potter, former insurance executive for CIGNA, currently the senior fellow on health care for the Center for Media and Democracy. And we should also mention, now also a consumer liaison for the aforementioned NAIC. Wendell, good evening.
Hi, Chris. Keith, how are you?
Good to see you, sir. Is Mr. Schiffbauer right? No insurance for kids with pre-existing conditions mandated until 2014?
Well, that's certainly his interpretation, and I'm sure that as someone, I know that he has written legislative language before, he, representing his clients, has been looking for loopholes in this legislation, and I think he's found one that really could indeed be as he's described. The insurance companies, if they do sell insurance companies to insurance policies to families, they cannot exclude coverage for pre-existing conditions. But by his interpretation, they don't have to sell the policies at all.
Since the Health and Human Services Department can write the clarifying code without another one of these 12-month-long political fistfights and dust-ups over it, and since this particular point, as Senator Rockefeller put it, makes the insurers look deplorable and outrageous, why did Schiffbauer say this? What advantage does he bring to the insurance industry? Because if this is good PR, I'm missing something.
You know, I think sometimes spokespeople for the insurance industry slip up and say things that is candid and inaccurate, and I think this is an example of that. It was notable that no one from one of the big trade associations was quoted in the article as saying this, and that is something I think is important. I frankly think that these two big trade associations that represent insurers, America's Health Insurance Plans and the Blue Cross Blue Shield Association, should write a letter to the President, to Congress, stating that their members will abide by the intent of Congress. And I think that's important because the insurance companies follow a lot of the recommendations of their trade associations. So that's what I would expect these big insurance trade associations to do.
When one of the trade associations said it would not fund any of these fanciful efforts to repeal health care reform, it was suggested that maybe they were responding to this political defeat and some constraint of their own business by making some small, even though it was self-aggrandizing, effort to be good citizens. Do you see any evidence in that?
No, I don't. They said the same thing many years ago during the Clinton reform debate, and they said this on May the 5th, 2009, when the President had his health care reform summit, that Mr. President will be here working with you in Congress to pass meaningful health care reform. Well, they were trying to fight it, so you really can't believe these guys.
I mentioned the National Association of Insurance Commissioners and its having asked you to join as liaison. In the week of its meeting in Denver, what kind of impact will big insurance have on the law as it begins to be implemented, do you think?
Well, significant influence. As you mentioned, there were 1,700 representatives of the insurance industry at that meeting. It's like Congress. They are lobbying the NAIC just as they lobby Congress, trying to influence the writing of the regulations, and they promised to be there to help them.
Yeah. Wendell Potter, now to be a representative of consumer interest within the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. Great thanks as always for your time.
Thank you, Keith.